We're in.
We're live.
Welcome back to the podcast, team. And this is our first recorded one. So if you watch it on YouTube, what's up? This is us. And also, if you go on.
I just said I already forgot that we were doing it on YouTube as well.
Yeah, well, this is it. And I think also this should make it easier for the team. Turn to my microphone there. My microphone was pinging out some high decibels. It also makes it easier when people know who's talking, because so many people that just listen to us are like, I can't ever tell which one's which. Whereas now, for you guys watching on the tube, you know who's talking.
Yeah, and also I'm pretty sure it says our names. It's like we've got a badge on. I don't know if this will actually still. I don't know if it pops up on YouTube, but obviously we've got our name badges in the little left-hand corner.
Might do. Should change mine to like Maximus Meridius Decimus. I don't think I did fit on the screen.
I need to.
How have you been, Hayden?
Well,
I know how you've been because we were just having a conversation. But tell the listeners how you've been.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, it's probably not the most ideal for the first live episode. As you can see, like, I'm supporting a nice shiny forehead at the moment. I don't actually feel that great, to be honest, but the show must go on. I had my jab yesterday, and I am going to be a little bitch about it and have a good old moment, like the classic man flu type scenario where my arm was just the first, like, so whenever you say
I'll preface this as well that you didn't have what most people have had.
Yeah, so I just haven't really seemed to have the jab that I know that anyone has actually had, and I can't even remember what it's called. The Moraine. Actually, hang on. I can pull the slip out.
Get the infamous. Mate, I've seen so many of those cards on social media. So many of them. It's like a badge of honor now.
Moderna. The Moderna, it's called. I can't even lift my arm.
Moderna. Is it new? Hayden rolled for Moderna.
I don't know. But
I think it's a placebo, mate.
Yeah, maybe I'm like the test dummy for it. If I grow another head or something.
Well, there you go, mate. We'll keep an eye out for you, and if all goes Pete Tong.
But this probably wasn't like such. I can probably actually factually say it wasn't a girl thing to do when you're at school. But you know when the like guys just give each other dead legs.
Mm-hmm.
And
granddads, you call them.
Yeah, and can you remember how extremely like if you got one, it could last for like a week.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only way. And I was trying to explain it to my girlfriend the other day, yesterday, about it. Like you get it in, you get a knee to the leg, and it's like literally the most painful thing ever.
It is horrendous.
But obviously she couldn't really relate to it, so I was like,
I said, stand still, turn to the side. Wallop.
Have some of this.
So that feeling you've got in your leg right now, that's in my arm.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
that'd drop you to the floor. No, I've had that as a grown adult when I've got it in their football. Like you've accidentally bashed someone, and I'm like, yeah, I'm out. I'm game out. I'm off.
Done.
Well, maybe we need to buy you a new arm.
Yeah, it's to be fair, I can feel it already slightly. So it's quite a quick, like it must have been now. Well, it's probably, I first felt it around about like 2:00 yesterday because I had it at 8:30. So it's probably about 24 hours now. Like it's really been like solid. So I can feel it starting to ease slightly. But now I don't know if it's placebo, because the first thing that people say to you is once you've had the jab or the conversation comes up, they always ask you, how do you feel? And I feel all right, but I always want, like, there's always a part of me that I'm like, do you? Like, are you actually okay? And someone was asking me earlier, and I was like, and this was like this morning, and I was like, yeah, no, absolutely fine. And then like in my head, I was like, oh my God, you just said that, but you didn't touch words, you didn't touch your head. And now I'm like, I think I'm feeling a little bit ill.
Also, anyone that's listened to this, where did the whole thing about touch wood come from? I want to know.
I don't know. I was talking with my friend.
Why's wood good luck? It's not like touch a rabbit's foot or touch a horseshoe, aren't they? Good luck. Or a 4-leaf clover. Touch wood.
No, but there's, so again, I'm pretty sure we've spoke about this on a podcast before about weird sayings, and like we got into a bit of a conversation with a friend the other day about it, and it's like, how weird are some things? Like, what was the one that there's more than one way to skin a cat. Who was going around skinning cats?
Back in the olden days, mate, they do many weird things around town, and obviously that was one of them.
Yeah, it's a bizarre saying.
What other ones are there? I'm trying to think now.
It's like it once you've
That's it. You let the cat out of the bag.
Yeah.
Why a cat? Why is a cat in a bag in the first place?
Yeah. Loads of random ones.
Strange.
You'll get some like pop into your head in a minute, and you just keep shouting it out in the middle.
Yeah,
of the
I will.
podcast.
Yeah. So this podcast is going to be about transformations, but it's also going to be about sayings that randomly pop into my head. So yeah, be prepared.
So what we're going to be talking about today is really the perfect way. We want to give you like an actual. Imagine you were in like a consultation room with us, and how we would design like a transformation program and kind of piece it all together. Like we wanted to give you a bit of a bird's eye view of it, and actually more of an insight into like it really isn't just as easy as calories in, calories out.
Yeah, that's one. Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt.
That is another one.
Calories in, calories out. Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt.
You've been thinking about that for ages.
It just popped into my head, if I'm honest, but it just fit perfectly with what we were saying. That's why I was going to say it, and then I was like, oh, it's actually a saying.
But yeah, no, we wanted to give you more of like a bird's eye view and actually see like there is much more depth into a consultation process, into a fat loss process, rather than just being like, okay, here's your calories, move a little bit more. There needs to be a bit more consideration because like, and this might shock you, but like sometimes depending like on an individual basis, like the smallest amount of changes is all that is needed to create the biggest transformation. And often people try and reinvent the wheel, or not even reinvent the wheel, that they just try and like, is that a saying?
Hey! As you said it, I was like, how's he missed this? How's he missed this? Come on.
I said it, and I must have said it like 3 or 4 times in my head to be like,
oh, superb, Jeff.
But yeah, like you really don't need to do all the things that you probably think you have to do. So Ryan, what is let's just start off with like, what's the first thing in as soon as someone thinks like fat loss, what was the first thing that you'll typically go to do? Like if you all of a sudden think, all right, let's go with the classic New Year's Eve. You're like, right, next year it's my year. I'm going to lose some body fat. And the first thing you think about doing is like, well, it's typically 2 things. It goes in 2 directions, doesn't it?
Cutting out your favourite foods. And going to the gym.
Yeah. Bingo.
What's his name?
Bingo?
Nah, that's not one.
Bingo. I guess bingo's very obvious, isn't it? Because it's like bingo and you...
Yeah. So it's like when it's the right answer, you shout it out. Anyway, carry on. Come on now. So you cut out your favourite foods and you think about going to the gym. They're kind of like your 2 main thoughts.
Yeah, and there's no real consideration into anything else other than that. It's literally right, okay, what gym do I need to join? How many times do I need to, like, how many times am I going to go to the gym? Okay, meal plan, right. What foods do I need to get rid of in-house? What foods do I need to start buying? And again, like, don't pretend you haven't been there before. It is literally, right, salad, chicken, broccoli, rice, okay, chocolate out, wine out, beer out. Basically, anything that tastes even remotely nice is, like, axed. Mayonnaise.
Oh, mayonnaise is great. I've got a real thing for mayonnaise at the moment.
It's good, isn't it?
But it's something you can... I could easily dispatch like half a tub on one meal. Just dip and dunk and off I go.
I do know someone that is like, it's an offensive amount that they use. Like,
are they close to you in the vicinity?
No, it's not Sophie. Sophie, you're good.
I know someone from. Is it someone from the gym?
No, it's Jake.
Oh well, Ted. Also, I don't know if either of you listen to these. You probably don't. But yeah, mate, Ted goes through like I think it was something like 1 kilo a week. He dispatches it.
Oh, actually, I remember him telling.
Yeah, mate.
I remember him telling me, like, literally,
weird.
That's probably why he's absolutely obsessed with going to the gym so much.
Trying to work off that mayo.
Just to get around the mayonnaise.
Remember, team, you don't want to work out just simply to burn calories. Exercise is to build a physique and for health purposes as well. That's like a disclaimer.
A little disclaimer by the side there. No, but what we want to do is, like I said, give you kind of like a bird's eye view. So let's say everyone always starts with a fat loss journey, and you typically, for whatever reason, and rightly or wrongly so, you've got a number in mind. You've got a previous weight that you used to be. You've got a previous physique in mind that you wanted to, you are happy at. Like, everyone does it. It's reality. Yeah. And like, it's okay. Like, it's fine. Like, we typically say, like, you know, don't strive for any kind of number or how you used to look. Mm-hmm. But it is what it is. And that's what people start their journey out. But what so many people like actually forget about, or don't even ever go through the process of, is actually more of like a lifestyle analysis. So I thought what we could do right now is, like I said, give a bit of a consultation type in-depth show of what like an analysis would be like when starting a fat loss journey. So the first thing, let's I was going to be like, should we role play? Should we get you to come in and be like, no, we won't do that.
But hiya, I'm Deborah.
Right, Deborah, something's wrong with your voice. So
that's just been like this since I was born. That's an awful woman impression. Sorry to offend anyone. Nothing wrong with the name Deborah, and not all women have high voices. Yeah, sorry, it was only a joke.
So the first thing that I'm going to ask Ryan when he's come to me and he's approached me for a fat loss journey is, he's obviously going to tell me what he wants to do, but I'm also going to ask him, okay, so what exactly are your goals? And this is why, and I know we've done a goal setting podcast before, but like kind of going off that a little bit, is the reason why I'm solely asking someone like what their goals are is, well, it's for a couple of reasons, really. Number one, it's to actually identify, you know, where they're looking to get to, what they're looking to do, what they are actually going to do for the process. So when I typically, and this is through, again, previous consultations that I've had, it's like, what are your goals? And you'll say, like, I want to lose X amount. So I'm going to start digging a little bit deeper and be like, okay, so what do you actually like want to achieve? Okay. And they start listing out to me what they want to achieve. The other reason why I'm doing this, not only from like a motivation standpoint to, you know, if you don't have goals, and this is, again, this can go in so many different like directions, but if you don't have goals, like you can almost feel lost sometimes. Like you don't really know why you're doing what you're doing when times get tough. But for the reason of like asking you what your goals are, I need to now establish a baseline. And this is one of the most important things that so many people miss out on, and it's expectations. I need to understand first that Ryan, with his goals, actually meets his expectations. Because if Ryan says to me, my goals are, I want to lose 30 pounds. And I say, okay, how are you going to do that? And he says, I'm going to go to the gym 6 times a week. And on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm going to do it twice a day. And I say, okay, what do your work hours look like? And he's like, oh, I get to work at 7 in the morning and I leave at 9 at night. Well, there's a huge issue already there.
You're like, Ryan, you've got a lot of time in the day. But mate,
what's your job?
So common. I think one of the most common ones I would always see when I've spoken to multiple women about their kind of like journeys to like what their goals are. And it's this exactly like that. It's like something that they want to achieve that's completely non-realistic and completely not fitting in with their lifestyle, which is the first issue. And then secondly, it's like that their goal weight. They're like, okay, so I'm thinking like in 3 months, I want to lose 3 stone. And in 6 months, I want to lose another 3 stone. And I'm like, 3 stone in 3 months. I'm like, good luck. Like, nah. And you sometimes, I always just think like, where's that number even come from? Like, they're like, yeah, I think in the first 90 days, I think I want to lose, I don't know, like 30 to 40 pounds. And I'm like, because what I think you forget is that's cool. Like you could probably lose maybe 30 pounds in those first 3 months if everything was perfect from start to finish.
Yeah, I mean, it does completely depend on like how much you got to lose and like you said, your lifestyle and stuff like that. But it's, for me personally, and again, Ryan might disagree, it's probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest reason why people do not achieve their goals, is because their expectations are completely skewed. And like Ryan said, when someone comes in with an expectation of looking to lose 3 stone in 3 months, and inevitably they haven't even lost 1 stone in 2 months, well, they feel like a failure. They feel like they were broken. They feel like it's not meant to be. And then that just, again, fulfills their own thought process of being like, I knew I was never going to be successful. I'm going to stop.
And it's like that for anything in life. It's like, imagine doing something that you were told was going to give you X outcome, or you thought was going to get outcome, and it gives you Y outcome. Well, you're going to be pretty peaked. You know, someone told you this was the fastest car in the world, you bought it, you drove it, and someone overtook you. You're going to be like, well, hold on, what's the point of having this car? Why did I buy it? Why am I putting effort into maintaining it if it's not the fastest car in the world? Like, I've been missold. But the thing is, when it comes to weight loss, we don't almost look at it like that. We don't look at the product or something that we've bought and that we've got expectations with, like weight loss. We instantly look inwards. We're like, I'm doing something wrong, I'm broken, I'm useless, whatever it is. Do you see what I mean? Like, the way that we manage the expectations as well, with regards to not only the expectations being so far stretched, but even when it doesn't go our way, we don't look at the actual thing that we're expecting. Like, okay, well, maybe let's look at what I'm doing to lose weight. We instantly look internally. We're like, okay, what am I doing wrong? Like, what am I doing? Why can't I do this? I'm a failure, I quit.
It's like self-punishment then, doesn't it?
And that's like, if you bought a car and it wasn't the fastest car in the world, you wouldn't start being like, oh, well, maybe I'm changing gear not very well, or maybe I'm not putting my foot down fast enough, or maybe I didn't put in super unleaded, I just put in normal unleaded. Like, you would never ask those questions. You instantly are like, okay, well, the car isn't the fastest. Why isn't this the fastest? I've been missold it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, no, exactly. So when you're setting out your goals, you can see it's not kind of just like a loose task that you don't really think too much depth into. It's an in-depth task because you want to be matching the reality to it. So if you are saying these things of like, I'm going to be going to the gym, I'm going to be doing this, like, make it completely realistic, match it with your expectations, like understand where you are currently now and what is the first step you can do. So many people like focus, especially when it comes to like weight loss, is they've got that magic number, and instead of thinking about losing the first pound, the first kilo, they look at the 30th pound straight away. It's like, I want to lose 30 pounds. It's like, actually, no, what can I do right now to lose that first pound, then the second pound, then the third pound? It's just that 1%.
Yeah. And that's it. And I think we're like, the thing is it's tough because we've been stuck in these places. And so whenever we start it, we are instantly thinking about the outcome goal and the end result from the off, because that also, and we can talk more about this, because that is also what we deem to be the motivating factor here, is the outcome, is just reaching that goal weight, this superficial thing. And we therefore also, the reason that that's an issue as well is because that doesn't direct you. You know, focusing on that outcome goal doesn't direct you in any real direction either. So you've got to remember to manage your expectations better and set relative things that are actually going to help you on your journey. But also, I think set relatively, these are what we call process goals, aren't they? Set relatively small process goals that allow you to, 1, stay motivated, 2, work towards that big goal, but 3, also make sure that you're on track.
The second pillar, like, I think you need to start to dive into and think about is, so obviously we've just spoken about the goals, like matching expectation stuff and like making it completely realistic to you. And then you've got to ask yourself a tough question, and I'll explain why this is so important. But you've got to ask yourself the question of, why am I where I am now? Why haven't I been successful in the past before? And this is so, like, I can almost guarantee that no one asks this question when you start your own personal transformation. You don't ask
prior experiences.
Yeah, you don't ever think about it. Like, you just, and this is what gets people caught in the same loop over and over again. Like, ask yourself the question, like, how many times have I tried dieting before? More than likely, you can't even count, like, on your hands how many times you've tried dieting. Like, it's ridiculous amount. So you've got to then pick pick apart why that is. Why have you not been successful before? Because once you can start to do this, you can really start to identify what the lowest hanging fruit is. And like I said, we'll start to like kind of go into that a little bit more. But it also gives you a chance to maybe place your focus in the areas where you think have like previously held you back. So you might actually think like, again, this is the typical thought process. Whenever I ask someone like, why do you think you are where you are now? And it's one of those questions where some people are, that's a bit harsh, Hayden, but I'm like, it gets you to uncover the truth for yourself. And when people actually stop and think about it, the first thing that you usually say to me is either I don't exercise enough or I've eaten too much. And it's, again, okay, we need to go a level deeper than that. It's like, why do you think you've eaten too much? Like, what's been going on there? Like, and again, this comes down to more like an education standpoint, but 99% of the time, it's never a case of that you don't move enough or you don't exercise enough. There's obviously deeper rooted issues that go on. It's like when one of my clients is actually coming towards the end of her transformation, and the first thing that she said to me on when we were doing this onboarding consultation is, I get to the 90-day mark and I stop. I get to every time I've done a transformation before, I hit 90 days and it all falls apart. So what do you think my number one goal has been for over the last 12 weeks is pulling apart and identifying why she gets to 90 days. She can do a 90-day transformation. She's done plenty. She's been really successful doing 90-day transformations. But what my job is now is, okay, pulling apart and pulling apart and identifying what it is about 90 days that stops her moving forward. Mm-hmm. And she sent me a voice note earlier as well, basically explaining exactly, identifying herself, where it is that she's been going wrong through all of like the education that we've been taking through and stuff like that. And I can honestly say, like, I know she will be successful now for the rest of her life. Like, it won't now be a 90-day thing because she's identified the pattern of what is going on. She's identified the faults. And just as a small little example of you for what it could be for other people is being so restrictive. Like, you've been so restrictive for 90 days that all of a sudden you see the 90 days as the end mark, when in reality, it's never the end mark, but you see it as the end mark and you give yourself that kind of pass to be like, oh, I can now eat whatever I want. I've done the 90 days. I've done the transformation. I can go back to eating normally again. But this is where you've got to make it as a habitual lifestyle and behavior change.
Yeah, that's it. Like, the first thing is manage your expectations. Make sure that you are, because like that sets you up for instant failure. Like, if your expectations are completely, like, your goals are so far set-fetched about what you think you can achieve, it's not linear, like we spoke about this in the last podcast, it's not fast, you're not going to be perfect, you're going to make mistakes, you don't have to cut out all your favorite foods, you don't have to do out, once you can actually get your expectations in line with how to actually lose weight, the second thing again is delving deeper into this why, because exactly like you just alluded to there, it's like, you are a direct representation of everything that you're doing at the moment. It's like, what people do is they jump on a diet and whatever else it is, and they come over here and they're like, yeah, wicked, like, I lost this much weight, I did this much in my transformation, great. As soon as they finished it, they jump off the diet, and what happens? Well, you just literally hit this water slide of like, yeah, it's great fun at first because you're like, whoa, I can eat all these favorite foods and all this stuff again, and then slowly your physique starts to just basically move back down to where it was before. Reason being is that you've never changed these lifestyle behaviors and habits. And I always say this, and I literally try and drill this into everyone. I'm like, you are a representation of your lifestyle, behavior, and habit. So what you need to do, which is what we're saying here, is identify where in and amongst that, with your food, your exercise, whatever it is, your mindset, what were the things that weren't allowing you to be successful long term? Because instead of just jumping from one diet to the next, from calorie counting to Slimming Well, to Weight Watchers, to keto, to intermittent fasting, all these different things, if you don't address the actual reasons as to why you weren't successful, you will just keep bouncing time and time again. And ultimately, it's not sometimes the fault of the diet or the actual like method itself. It's something that you could be continuously doing. Hence, exactly like Hayden just said, his client had no problem. She would jump on whatever diet, whatever protocol, 90 days, she'd get a transformation, but it was after, because none of it actually looked into, actually, why weren't you successful this time? What is it that you need to change? What is it about your lifestyle behaviors and habits that doesn't suit the person you want to be. And that only comes from a bit of reflection, looking, what do you think about your current state of affairs that is holding you back, that isn't allowing you to be successful? Otherwise, you're just, if you imagine if you were driving around a racetrack and you crashed and we just got back on and drive again, you kept crashing. Eventually you'll be like, okay, I'm obviously doing, and we always do it. We're obviously doing something wrong. I'm obviously doing something wrong. What is it I'm doing wrong? But you will get people that don't. They just keep going around and just keep crashing on every corner. And what you realize is they're braking into the corner as they're turning, which is why they go off course. For any of you that are racing drivers, that you brake before the corner, you accelerate through to get the most amount of grip. But if you kept doing that and you just ignored it and you're like, I crashed again, I was obviously maybe going too fast. When actually, if you stop, you're like, oh, it's because I'm braking through the corner. I need to brake before, then accelerate through the corner. You'd literally overcome the struggle that you've just been facing. Whereas if you don't review, you're just going to keep going around the course, crashing every single time. Doesn't matter what car you drive, doesn't matter what track you do, doesn't matter how fast or how slow you go. If you keep braking around that corner and doing the same thing and not realizing it, you will just keep crashing. And this is what I think you've got to realize. You've got to stop, pull into that pit stop and review it. Look back at what you've done. Look back at the tapes of your previous laps. Review what you've been doing. What do you do in those moments? How do you react? What are your habits that you commonly have? Because ultimately then you'll be able to find what it is that is not working for you and what it is that maybe you do that's holding you back. And once you've brought about the awareness, you can then make the changes that you need moving forward. Otherwise, you're putting sticky tape on a leaky tap. It's not going to last. You're going to make these transformations like Hayden said his client was doing 90 days and then they just bounce straight back to where they were before. And it's because it was just a short-term solution. You've got to find the big reasons as to why you are where you are, so then you can actually make positive changes moving forward to get to the place where you want to be.
Yeah, that lines it up perfectly for like the next bit, which is like, now you've got this awareness and now you have a better understanding of like, and being truthful with yourself, you have a better understanding of like, where you've previously failed. Mm-hmm. We then can typically, we use the term of like the lowest hanging fruit, and the lowest hanging fruit is what's the biggest thing that you can change right now that's going to have the biggest impact to you. And chances are this thing that you've identified is probably going to be the biggest solution to you anyway. So let's just use like a prime example for someone that we've worked with previously. Now she basically had like a really, really high stress job, like a super, super stressful job. And she never ever managed her stress. And because she never managed her stress, she never went through all these like coping mechanisms. She never ever got a decent amount of sleep. Never really, here we go, prioritized.
Why are you trying to bring me down in the podcast, man?
We're
having a good time here. We were on a nice little flow, and out of nowhere you got
prioritized.
Be a jackass.
Her sleep was always impaired, and she never dealt with like the stresses that she was going through. So she could easily, like, no problem, like you throw calories at her, and while things were good, awesome, like I can stick to my protein, I can stick to my calories, I can stick to my steps. But as soon as the stress built up, she then it impacted her sleep. Boom, like everything went to pieces. Yeah. So the lowest hanging fruit there for this particular client was like, right, we need to understand and be able to manage your stress and emotions better, because the truth of the matter is, like, your work stressor isn't ever going to disappear for the rest of your life. It will always come back. Like it does. Like for myself and Ryan, like we get stressors all the time that pop up. Like we absolutely love our job, but we still get stresses that pop up. So you have to be able, for her in particular, because we identified that, we had to be able to put like an action plan in place for her, because all things outside of the stress, it was pretty easy for her. She could adhere to her calories, she could do all this, but as soon as the stress built up, bam.
Running around like a headless chicken.
Exactly.
I've been holding that in. And why do they say that? I presume that when the chicken gets its head cut off, it runs around briefly before it dies.
Well, I thought there was like, wasn't it something like a 5? I'm completely making this up. I have no idea. I think I remember hearing something. It's like a
5 second delay.
5 seconds something. Yeah, I don't.
Mate, so there's also a lizard. I saw this on TikTok, right? There's a lizard that like when it's in danger, it drops its tail, so like cuts its own tail off, but just like it's got a mechanism that cuts its tail off. It doesn't get sore and cut its tail off, obviously. It cuts its tail off. Its tail the tail will grow back, but the tail that it drops will keep moving for like 10 minutes. Will keep moving around. So the predator obviously like starts like trying to like nail this bit of tail, and the tail keeps moving for 10 minutes whilst the lizard can then like get away.
Doesn't the lizard, it'll grow a new tail, won't it?
Yeah. What a mental survival mechanism. Like, oh, watch out, mate. Have a bit of tail. See you later. Off he goes. 10 minutes, that thing's wiggling about.
So odd. So odd.
Oh, mate, we scared. But don't humans do that as well?
What, with their tail?
Now, apparently, isn't it humans when they like can still have like muscle twitches after they pass away, like involuntary muscle contractions or something?
Apparently.
And you also you pass wind after you've passed away still.
Yeah, it's apparently very common for a man to have a boner when he passes due to like blood or something like that.
That is the most random fact I've ever heard in my life. Imagine that being like one of those morgue people, and you just walk in, you're like, "Whoa, Steve."
You'd literally be. I mean, you'd be speechless. Like, cat's got your tongue.
But mate, a cat's. When has a cat ever got your tongue?
Odd, isn't it? It is so odd.
It's strange, isn't it?
But yeah, going back to this client in particular. So, guess what happened once we managed to find the lowest hanging fruit, identify what the biggest stress were, and we could eliminate that and put action. And by the way, it's never perfect as well. Like, it's not like we helped her implement one strategy and all of a sudden she was stress-free the rest of her life. Like, your stress doesn't disappear. You've just got to use tools to manage it better. So if she's now getting tools to manage it better, increase her sleep, well, we know once her sleep's better, her hunger's going to be reduced. Now, guess what? Once your hunger's reduced, the adherence to your calories is far, far easier. So it's little small strategies like this that you have to start implementing and finding out that lowest hanging fruit, finding out what's that thing that's been holding you back. Because ultimately, that's probably the thing that you need to work on the most. And often when it comes to like transformations, and you see incredible, like across my Instagram, Ryan's Instagram, like our Facebook page, you'll see like hundreds of transformations. And like a lot of them, you'll be very, very, very impressed when you think there's a secret formula. But more often than not, it's that one thing, it's that lowest hanging fruit that we've talked about that has made all of that difference. Because you don't understand the power of consistency. Once you can you can work something out like that.
And also, you've got to look from an adherence. Like we always say, one of the most important factors when it comes to weight loss is adherence. That's why there is no one-size-fits-all diet, because you've got to find something that works for you ultimately. And picking that lowest hanging fruit is great because it's something that's easy, that's going to give you the biggest bang for your buck. Don't know why that's biggest bang for your buck. It's ultimately going to give you the biggest bang for your buck, and it's ultimately then going to keep you motivated, because one of the other most important things is like you want results. Do you know what I mean? Like you need results. That helps build your motivation, build your commitment. So by choosing something that's easy, it's like cool. Like that's going to be something that you can implement. It's going to give you instant results, keep you motivated, allow you to adhere to it, get results. Sweet. Like everything's cool. Don't try and do this massive, because this is where everyone does this massive overhaul of everything. They'll overhaul their whole nutrition. They're like, yeah, that's it. I'm overhauling it. And then it all comes crashing back down and they wonder why. And you're like, well, you tried to overhaul the whole thing. Like break it down, keep it simple. Like look at what it is you're doing and see what these little changes that you can make. You know, maybe it's snacking in the evening. You really struggle with late night snacking. One of the first things that I'm like, okay, cool. Let's increase protein at your evening meal. Or let's actually have a smaller breakfast and give you more calories in the evening so you can have a dessert. Done. Like something as simple as that. They're like, oh, well, actually just increasing my protein at dinner. I felt full that I didn't need snacks. Or, oh, it's really nice. I could have my snacks, but still be on my calorie intake. Sweet. Like it's so simple. And I think we often overcomplicate it because we just assume that like there's some secret out there that no one knows, and that, you know, no Tom, Dick or Harry will ever have the answer. God, we are throwing these out there today. You keep this coming, right?
Yeah, so just because it's like names, Tom, Dick and Harry, it's
not the mic.
The other one is Bloody Mary.
Yeah, Bloody Mary. Yeah. What about Nora? Oh, bloody
Yeah,
Nora.
there's actually a story behind this. It's
Here we go.
no, yeah, I have looked it up. It was something to do with I can't remember who it was. Like someone in higher power, like he had an assistant called Nora that like kept killing. I can't remember the exact story. It was. I have looked it up though. I have looked it up before.
She kept burning the toast, and he was always like, "Bloody Nora."
It was something to do with Nora killing like people, because that's how she got her name, Bloody Nora, because she kept killing people.
Oh, that's pretty statistical. Jeez, I thought it was like it'd be something fun, like burnt toast.
No burnt toast. I mean, they didn't really have toasters back in those days.
Yeah, but they had fires and bread, so you could make toast. You don't have to make toast in a toaster. I don't have a toaster. I make toast with a grill.
Oh, mate, you're one of those.
But yeah, I don't have a toaster, so you just got to do it like that. You got to keep an eye on it though, man, because otherwise, a couple of seconds too long, and that ain't toast. That's char grill. That's char grill bread.
How often do you have toast? Or how?
I don't know. Maybe once a week, if that.
Oh, so like I like. So this is how lazy I am. Like I'm this guy as well. That's like I'm so lazy when it comes to stuff like this. Like I would never ever have toast because I just couldn't be asked to go through that process.
Oh, I was like, what? Can't be bothered to put it in a toaster?
No. Like actually turn the oven on, like watch it, all of that stuff. Like I'm the person that will put like a microwave meal in or something like that. Something I have to microwave, and I will eat it as soon as it comes out instantly. Burn my tongue every single time because I'm so impatient.
What is wrong with this man? I'm not too sure who this Hayden Rolf is. See, now I've got such a baby mouth. We'll get back to the thing in a minute. Like I literally have to have my food like I'm like a kid, like lukewarm. Anything slightly remotely hot, I'm like, no, can't eat it. I'll have to sit there whilst my other half is eating and wait until it cools down a bit.
No. Oh.
Dispatch it.
I'll go straight in.
And then instantly regret it. Because the worst thing is though, mate, is once you burn your mouth, you then can't taste it very well. And that's like my ultimate pet hate. If I've misjudged it and I'm like, yeah, I think it's ready for my baby mouth now. And I'll put it in my baby mouth, burn it, and I'm like, brilliant, rest of dinner's basically pretty much pointless now because I can't even taste it.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. It infuriates me as well, but it doesn't stop me from doing it. Not learning from my mistakes.
Silly bugger.
Yeah, when it comes to anything else, apart from food.
Well, mate, you gotta learn from these things. You got to reflect and redirect. Talked about that in the last podcast. So, going through those 3 points is managing your expectations, because that is going to help you not set yourself up for failure from the off. Understanding that the real truth behind weight loss. The second one was understanding your why, like understanding why you have failed up until this point, identifying what it is that is the reason why you haven't been able to be successful, not just assuming that it's the diet, you're broken or anything like that. Look internally. And then thirdly is pick the lowest hanging fruit. Pick something easy that's going to give you the biggest bang for your buck, that's going to take the least amount of effort, because ultimately you want something that's going to not have too much friction behind it. If it's got a lot of friction behind it, you're going to struggle. No pun intended.
But this is kind of, you might be sitting here and listening or watching now. And
what about my calories?
Yeah, and thinking like, oh well, I kind of like, I just want to know what my calories are. I want to know how much protein I should be eating, or how many steps I should be doing. And like this is probably the reason of why you're going wrong, is because you're just thinking about like the surface level stuff. You're not thinking about like the internal stuff that needs to be done. And it sounds slightly woo-woo, but it's the stuff that will give you that long-term success. Yes, it may make the process a little bit longer. Like, yes, of course, if you all of a sudden go from not going to the gym at all and then go 6 times a week, or if you go from eating like all of your favorite foods to then only eating like single item foods that have zero flavor to it, of course you're going to lose weight so much quicker, but it isn't sustainable. There's no adherence there long term. Just
a disclaimer, not all single ingredient foods taste like nothing. That's Hayden's personal opinion there. Yeah, you're 100% a sauce man, aren't you? Like, you have to have some sort of sauce on everything.
Yeah, 100%.
I could tell that.
Mayo.
Yeah, because ultimately, like the amount of people that track their calories are like, Ryan, I just need to know what my calories are, and I'm like, cool, here are my calorie calculator, and then literally I get within like 2 weeks. So I'm tracking my calories, but I don't seem to be losing weight, and I'm like, tracking calories is a tool. There's nothing special about it. Like that is literally the principle of fat loss. It'll get you into a deficit, but there's so many other things around it. Like eating healthy. Like eating healthy doesn't mean that you're going to lose weight.
The absolute classic that we both hear every single day, especially when they use our calorie calculator, is Ryan or Hayden, my calories are too high. And I'm like, oh, how many diets have you tried previously? Oh, like 400. I'm like, okay, across how long? About 20 years. Okay, cool. Like, yeah, no, your calories aren't too high. Like, they're not too high. And that's probably the reason why you're actually struggling, is because you think that you need to deprive yourself all the time.
Yeah, man. And this is it. Again, comes back to adherence. What's it easier to adhere on? 1,200 calories or 1,800 calories? 18. As long as you're still going to lose weight, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you can do it faster down at 12, because there's no longevity. There's going to be adherence issues, because like you're going to struggle to get it in there. Like those that are down there because they are small, or they have PCOS, or they have needs that need them there, go ask them how it's not that easy to stick to 1,200, but for their certain metabolic standards, they have to. So like, if you don't have that issue, don't do it. Like, you have the opportunity to eat more. Many people who can't, because of metabolic problems, would give their left arm for another 600 calories a day. Take them and run with it.
Yeah, and disclaimer again there, like they were just random numbers that Ryan pinned out there, like they're not your calories. But mate,
sounds like, okay, 1,800.
I had someone message me on my Instagram. I did a post
You did a post today? I saw it. It was a good post today.
Yeah, it was good, man.
Thieving little bugger.
So I had a message, and it was like, because in the description of the post, I basically said like someone who was on 1,800 calories or whatever, and they were like, so should I be eating 1,800? I'm like, you've just missed the whole point of the post, and you've just singled in on the number.
Yeah.
But like
picking out the information that you want.
Yeah. and this is the thing, like so many people, like they will deprive themselves Monday to Friday because, you know, it's boring days, there's no social events on, it gets to the weekend, it gets to eating more, boozing, completely disregard their calories and all stuff like that. And then they think, oh no, like I'm broken, I didn't eat that many calories. Like I cannot describe to you like how many hidden calories there are in alcohol. Like, does it mean you can't stop drinking it? Like, no, you don't have to stop drinking alcohol. Like, you can absolutely still drink it, but there's got to be awareness there. Like, you can't drink yourself into the floor. And
I literally had a conversation with a client before. I was like, the thing is, like, you can go out and you can socialize. You can go out, you can eat every meal out at a restaurant. The thing is, you've got to be accountable. You just have to be accountable. It's like, we always say, we can go back to like the whole like money thing. It's like, if you went out and you spent X amount of money, and you went out and you spent loads at the weekend because you bought a new car, what do? You're then a little bit careful for the next like few months because you know you spent a big chunk. Well, we don't do that when we come to weight loss. We spend a big chunk and then we keep spending, and then we wonder why our bank account doesn't look so healthy. So
yeah, I think we went slightly off on that, but you can just see that, like, giving you kind of a bit more of an insight, like when someone is starting a fat loss journey, like you can see even from like how we run the show in the academy, like it's not a case of like, okay, cool, like how much do you want to lose? Yeah, here's your calories, off you go. Like, we are doing a deep dive analysis. Like, we're finding out what their sleep is like, what their previous dieting history is like, why they previously failed. Like, we're asking them all of these questions. And yes, we're doing all like the legwork for them. We're building the bespoke protocol for them. But at the end of the day, like, that's the exact process you need to go through. And we've given you just the tools there to be able to do that.
And I think the another thing to remember, and I always say this to all of our clients, I'm like, whenever we set them up, I'm like, look, I'm just setting you up initially with some basic things to go away, because the first 2 weeks is ultimately data collecting, because I'm like, I just need to get data. I need to get data that then can numerically, is that even a word? Numerically?
Numerically.
So we need numerical data, like number data.
Numeracy?
Now you are literally another one. Now you're just clutching at straws. Damn, I'm on fire with these today. So the thing is, because I need numerical data to basically then compare with like what I want to do moving forward. And it's like what people think is they think we're going to give them all of the things that they need to do at once. And I'm like, no, like I literally give you some simple starting basics for the first week. Because I'm like, the first week is just getting you into the groove of tracking data, weighing, taking measurements, thinking about your food, and then we slowly do it. Whereas what we sometimes get, we expect like us to come at us with like a meal plan, all these workouts, we're going to be implementing all these habits. And I'm like, no, like I'm going to be doing things like, it's almost like drip feeding. I'm like, we're going to drip feed because we don't know how long, improving your sleep is going to take. We don't know what things, improving your sleep might actually help your hunger. So it's like, oh, actually our hunger is all right. So we don't need to look at maybe some other hunger improving techniques, because actually sleep has given us the best bang for our buck. Like you've got to look at everything, and nothing is, again, like we always say, I always say to everyone, I'm like, first thing we do is we pencil out your journey. We don't pen it out, we pencil it out, because it changes. Like whatever we set out, we're like, it's going to change. It's going to change every single week with regards to the data. And even halfway through the week, you might report something back. And I'm like, okay, cool, right. I now know that I need to make a note and we're going to change this. And that's the great thing about having a coach, is that they basically just review everything as you're going, and they just oversee over your shoulder every step of the way, which also is important, I think, because it then takes out the guesswork, but it also knows that like we're constantly reviewing it, rather than expecting like the first 2 weeks to be like, this is it, I'm going to drop a shed ton of weight. It's like, well, actually the first week, you're going to drop some weight, but like focus on like how you're feeling. What are your food choices like? What's your sleep like? What's your energy like now you've made some nutritional shifts? Like those biofeedback are super important.
Well, it kind of goes, doesn't it? It slightly goes back to that like lowest hanging fruit, because it was kind of like I was saying to you before the podcast of the client that I worked with before, where she came to me, and the only thing I identified, her lowest hanging fruit, was she was drinking thousands and thousands and thousands of liquid calories a day on top of her eating. So the first thing that I did was look to change up her liquid calories, which would reduce her calories by a ridiculous amount. And like, I mean, obviously I'm not saying names, so I can say it, but it was like, we're talking like nearly 2 to 3 liters of full fat Coke a day. And even just to start off with, dropping that down to 1 liter. Like, I'm not saying that she can't have it. It's just like we're dropping it down, and dropped a ridiculous amount. And like, by the time I completely changed it up to, we were actually drinking Coke Zero, she'd replaced the full fat Coke with Coke Zero, or it might have been Pepsi Max. I can't remember whichever one it was, to give her still that sense, that taste that she was looking for. We didn't change over the course of like the 16 weeks I was working with her. I didn't have to change anything. And it even got to the point where she was like, do I need to be doing anything else? I'm like, your body is changing so much shape. You're doing all these things. And that's when it's like Ryan said, we can start like building in more like habits and stuff, and maybe start to look at like some small improvements. But the biggest bulk she was doing, like I could have said to her to do nothing. Now, I could have literally got her to do nothing else, and she still would have got that amazing transformation. It was that one small thing.
Yeah, and so good. And that's it. Keep it stupid simple. Kiss. Keep it stupid simple.
Nice. Well, I'm happy to pause on that and potentially get some feedback to see what you wanted to hear more about the transformation process, because we obviously went in more like in depth into like the psychology, I guess, as well, of like how we do it and like internal work.
Yeah, and always let us know. Like, our DMs are always open. Let us know what you want us to talk about. Let us know. DM us. I always say, like, give us a headline. So, like, if you're going to talk about podcast, DM me capital word podcast dash, and then whatever it is that you'd want the topic to be, and we can get it out. And if you guys are watching us on YouTube, this is something new, Hayden, as well. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, because I'll be posting the podcast up onto the YouTube channel, and then we'll also be doing little educational shorts as well. So that's something new. So if you're listening to this and you didn't realize, starting up the YouTube, innit?
What's your YouTube channel like? Have you got many subscribers?
I had 16 earlier.
16?
Yeah, man. We got the 16. First milestone is 50. I'm going for 50 subscribers by the end of June. Yeah, so we'll be able to see our pretty faces on the tube, and everyone else listening to us. Yeah, like and subscribe anyway.
Are you gonna do like thumbnails?
Mm-hmm.
Should we get a thumbnail?
Yeah. Love that thumbnail. We'll work on the thumbnail bit, but yeah, that's good. All right, team. Well, it's been always a pleasure, never a chore. Finish on saying nice, like that.
I don't know if you can count that one.
Why not?
Say it again.
Always a pleasure, never a chore.
Yeah, but it's not like, do you know what I mean? It's not like cat's got your tongue. It's like what you're saying is it has relevance to, like, cat's got your tongue is like, why are people silent? Why has a cat got your tongue? Pleasure is pleasure. Chores.
Always a pleasure, never a chore.
I don't agree with that one. It's the same, but I don't agree that it's along the same line as, like, what was it called? Cat has got your tongue though.
Yeah, I don't know what to say to this, mate. I look at you now like, you know, like Scar throwing Mufasa off a cliff. Like, I'm disappointed in you.
Let's wrap this party up.
All right, team. We'll see you in the next episode. Peace out.
Bye-bye.